Hello. I'm going to be going through how, if we were to get all of the purchases of a particular customer, the profit associated with those purchases, how much was spent to acquire the customer in the first place, what the discount rate is, we should all be able to agree on what customer lifetime value and related measures are. And that's really what this video is going to take us through, just how we can be able to get a bunch of the different measures that I have shared with you in the PowerPoint deck, how we can be able to do the calculations for those measures in Excel. So that is what I am going to show you next. So again, just a few preliminaries. First, we're assuming a unit of time that's in days. So this is saying that this customer made a purchase that was worth $7 that brought in $2 of variable profit 150 days after acquisition. I'm assuming the current time is day 180. The annual discount rate is 12%, which implies a daily discount rate of 0.031%. In general, this is the way that we do the calculation. We take 1 plus the annual rate, raise it to the power of 1 over 365, because there's 365 days in a typical year, and then subtract 1. That's what gives us the daily discount rate. So if we do an assignment where we, again, have to move from annual to daily, you can use the same calculation, or you could simply adjust the number right over here, and it's going to flow through into the number over here. I'm assuming that the customer permanently churns in day 360, and that the company spent $50 to acquire this customer in the first place. These are all the purchases that the customer is going to make. So these 3 purchases happen in the past. They happened before day 180. These 2 purchases happen in the future, and then the customer churns. So again, it's as if we had a perfect crystal ball that told us exactly when this customer was going to make these purchases, and then when the customer would churn. So what is customer lifetime value given all of the above? We take all of the variable profits associated with each and every one of these purchases. We multiply it by the discount factor. The discount factor is equal to 1 over 1 plus the daily discount rate raised to the number of days in the future that purchase was made. So again, when we kind of zoom back out and say, what is CLV? CLV is the net present value of this customer's profits and costs as of the time that they were born. So when they were born, how much would I spend to basically acquire that customer in the first place, inclusive of the acquisition cost? So I'm discounting all these cash flows from day 150 back to today. And we can see over here, for example, $1 310 days from now is worth about 91% of $1 today. So the present value of each of these variable profits is just the variable profit that we got at that time multiplied by the discount factor. We then have the customer acquisition cost, and then the CLV is simply the sum of the present values of each of those variable profits plus the CAC. Now the CAC, again, it doesn't need to be adjusted because the CAC hit on day 0, and so it's as if the discount factor for this cash flow is equal to 1. So customer has a CLV of $113. 1 down, a few more to go. Post-acquisition value. It's exactly the same thing as CLV, except we do not subtract CAC. So again, if we were to kind of just sum all this up, what we would see down over here is it sums to 163.1. It's the same as the 163.1 that we see over here. PAV can serve as the upper bound for how much to spend on customer acquisition. Residual lifetime value. This is how much a customer is worth in the future relative to today. So if today is day 180 and we have 2 purchases coming up in the future at time points 290 and 310, those are 110 and 130 days in the future. So we're going to take these variable profits. We're going to use discount factors, again, that kind of take that purchase from the future, discount it back to today. So essentially this is discounting this purchase from day 290 to day 180, which is 110 days in the future. So we get those present values, and then we sum them up over here, and that gets us the residual value for this customer. Historical value is the kind of the historical complement to the RLV. So it's saying, what is the future value of all of the cash flows that we have earned, and all of the the expenses that we have incurred, again in the past relative to right now. So these cash flows over here, they happened 180 days in the past. We're future valuing them to the present. That's why this discount factor is greater than 1. So each of these historical profits is then brought to day 180, and then we also then deduct the future value of the customer acquisition cost, and that gets us the historical value of this customer, negative 24.8. So this is also saying that by time point 180, this customer is still not profitable yet. This is a finite horizon CLV. This is saying take all the purchases that happen over the first X number of days or X number of months. What is the net present value of the customer when we kind of take into account all the purchases that happen within that time frame but not outside of that time frame. So if we go back over here, we have again 5 purchases that are made. 2 of these 5 happen within the first 90 days. So we're going to incorporate those 2. We're going to ignore the purchases that happen thereafter. And when we take the present value and subtract out the CAC, we get negative 25.3. Sales PAV and sales CLV. Only difference here is that now, look at this. We're looking at sales. We're not looking at profit. And so when we kind of look at where we're pulling these figures from, we're pulling it from the revenue line over here and not the variable profit line. But otherwise, everything else is the same. So same discount factors here as over here. Same present value calculation. Sales PAV is then the net present value of the sum of the sales. Subtract off CAC, and that gets us sales CLV. Undiscounted CLV. This is again where instead of doing any discounting, we instead effectively use a discount rate of 0 and just sum the amounts. So a discount rate of 0 means we're just going to sum everything as it was. It's as if a dollar 310 days from now is worth the same as a dollar today. So we know it's not true, but again, very commonly assumed in some definitions of CLV. Otherwise, everything else is the same. So again, the only thing that's different with this metric is that we have made all of these discount factors equal to 1. So their present values are effectively the same as their original values. You don't need to really worry about these two because I didn't talk about them in class, but I do think they are very important, so I'm just going to spend a minute on them anyways. What is net CAC? So in a traditional subscription or transactional business, a customer is acquired when they make their first purchase. So there's some amount of money that you spent to acquire them, but then you're going to get some profit back on the initial purchase that acquired the customer. And so what this is saying is, well, the gross CAC is 50, but I know I'm going to get $5 on that first purchase that births the customer. And so the net CAC, or the CAC that's net of the profit on the first purchase, is actually 45. And then correspondingly, the repeat CLV is essentially the net present value of all of the variable profits after the initial purchase. So again, I think this is in some ways a more enlightened CAC measurement, because the firm will get that $5, modulo some cash flow timing considerations. And so again, this is kind of like the plug, so that if you account for both of these, that gets you back to the number that we started with up over here. Yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. And then finally, and this is going to be relevant in the real world when we don't have the crystal ball, and instead we need to replace those predictions of the future, the crystal ball predictions of the future with with an uncertain model, essentially what we're going to have to do is we're going to say, all right, I'm here, I'm at time point 180, I'm going to run my predictive models. They're going to give me a projection of what I'd expect in the future. And if that model tells me that the expected residual lifetime value is $12, then it's as if I can put a $12 variable profit figure in at time point 180. It's as if a purchase happened at that point and that was the final thing to happen with that customer. So I have all the purchases that happened in the past. I've got the purchase that happens today, quote unquote, but it's really, again, essentially the net present value of the future. I then apply my same discount factors that I did before. Sum them up, that gets me EPAV. Subtract off CAC, that gets me E of CLV. So that's it. Those are all the calculations. And if you're doing this as part of an exercise or a homework assignment or something like that, then essentially you can use this spreadsheet and you can just manipulate some of the numbers. But if you do that, just be very careful that you don't leave some of the numbers inadvertently the same as in this example, because that could lead to mistakes down the road. So hopefully this is helpful. Any questions, give me a holler.